It's time for another Dice Tower review with Z Garcia.
Hey everybody, today I'm taking a look at Lovecraft Letter. Lovecraft Letter is, of course, based on the very popular Love Letter. And the Love Letter line, there has been a bunch of Love Letter sort of spin-offs and re-themes, but this one isn't just a new skin on the same Love Letter game. There's been some development here, and this game is actually a very different game in some ways to Love Letter, and it utilizes the Lovecraftian Cthulhu mythos theme in a very integral way, while still retaining and certainly being a Love Letter game. Let me show you how this works. We'll come on back after that, and I'll tell you what I think of it. So here's everything that you get in the game. You're going to get a stack of cards. You are going to get some handy-dandy cheat sheets. You got a bunch of poker chips, nice chunky poker chips, and they are double-sided if you went insane, and if you did not, you're going to get those, assuming you win. And then you also get a bunch of sleeves. Now, these were a nice surprise. You get the sleeves that are branded right in the box, and the cards are actually pretty good quality. They're maybe a little thin, but nothing to write home about. But you get the sleeves anyway, and so every card is going to be sleeved, and in fact, you should have some extra sleeves that you can just set aside in case some of them rip or anything like that, and you've got some extra ones. And then they give you some clear ones as well, which I assume are for the cheat sheets. I haven't actually put these on, but they're in there as well. And so that's everything you get. To begin the game, to set it up, you're going to hand everyone one of these, of course. You are going to remove from the deck the Mi-Go Brain Case, set that aside for now. And then you're going to shuffle up the rest of the cards, and everybody around the table is going to get one of these, just like regular Love Letter. And then you are going to remove a card as well from the deck, just another one besides the Mi-Go Brain Case, and you're ready to begin. The star player is going to have a card in their hand. They are going to draw another card. So in this case, I have Investigators here, the number 1. And I drew the funky, crazy-looking cat here. And then you are going to play a card. Draw a card, play a card. That's basically it, and therein lies the charm of the classic Love Letter. You play one, you do what it says. In this case, the number 1 says that I name a number other than 1, and I choose another player. They check their card. If they have the number I said, they're out of the game. And so I'll pick this player, I'll say 5. They'll look at their card. They do not have a 5. They say, nope. And that's it, I'm done. I keep this card. And then the next player will do the same thing. They also have Investigators, and they have Professor Armitage. And they'll play one, and they'll do whatever it says, all right? And this goes around. However, everything you're seeing right now is largely like Love Letter. Some of the cards, though, such as this one here, are going to have a different symbol at the top corner as opposed to these other cards here. And they also have 2 powers down below. They have the normal sane power, and then the insane power if you've gone a little crazy. So that way that works is when you play the first one of these, you simply do the top power, and they are the same. So for example, the power on the 6 here will be the same as the power on the sane 6, such as that one right there. You can't actually see the bottom of those cards, but let's do that so you can see them. There you go. However, once you've got one of these, 2 things are going to change when it is your turn. The first thing that changes is that you'll be able to trigger the insane power on cards from now on, and those, I'll tell you, are very powerful effects, such as, and this is quite the extreme example here, but Cthulhu himself, or itself, I guess I should say, has the power, the normal power is that if you discard this card, you're immediately knocked out of the round, just like the other 8. The insane power is that if you have 2 or more insanity cards in your discard pile, meaning in front of you, you win the game, as in the entire game, not just this round. So very strong, but with madness comes danger, and so whenever you have an insane one of these madness cards in front of you before you begin your turn, you are going to have your 1 card in your hand. You have to check if you go insane, and you are immediately knocked out of the round. You're going to flip a card over from the top of the deck and check it. It is not an insanity card. Whew, you're good. and now you draw a regular one into your hand, and now you play. The other thing that could happen, of course, is that you flip one over and it is an insanity card, like that, and you're immediately done. Whoever wins the round is going to get one of these tokens. That happens, of course, when everyone has been knocked out by one player, or until all the cards are gone, and then you check who's holding the highest numbered card. And you're going to earn one of these. You're going to earn it on this side. If you went insane, you're going to earn it on this side here if you were not insane. And then once you've gotten a certain number of these, it takes normally 3 or 4, depending on the side, you will win the entire thing. Unless, of course, you win through the power of Cthulhu that I just showed you, and the game's immediately over. It's a very quick game, very simple. I'll give you a look at some of the powers here. I will not go into all of them, but I'll give you some of the, just a flavor or the idea of why, how they've adapted the normal powers, largely seen in Love Letter, to these sort of new powers. And I'll start with the Mi-Go. I set aside that Mi-Go brain case at the beginning. This one says you choose any player, they must discard a card, their hand, and draw a new card. That is the normal power. The souped up power is that you choose another player, you add their hand to your hand, and they get the Mi-Go brain case, and then discard a card. And so this is the Investigators. It's not it. The Mi-Go brain case is a card that quite simply sits in your hand, and if you ever have to play it, you're knocked out of the round. So you are effectively reduced to drawing a card and having to play that card. And if anyone ever discards the one you're holding, well, you're done. And there's several other things that might knock you out of the round. So very dangerous stuff. Cthulhu, I already showed you. You have Investigators, and you have the book here, the Liber Ivonis. I'm assuming I'm saying that sort of right. This one says you cannot be chosen, of course, to be the target of any effects if you play for the normal power. The souped up power is that you cannot be knocked out of the round until, obviously, the end of the round. Okay. That we have over here. Let's keep looking through these. Elder Signs and the Professor. We have the deep ones, of course, the number ones. The number one regular power is the same as the Investigators, where you're trying to pick numbers in people's hands and knock them out. The souped up one is you choose another player. If they have a 1, they are knocked out. If they don't, then you trigger the top power anyway. And so on and so on, and you're going to see these different kinds of powers. So the idea is you're going to have many more cards than in regular Love Letter, and you are going to be attempting to win either through insanity or sanity, and either, of course, by knocking other people out or attempting to hold back the highest numbered cards. And that's basically it. These are going to help you tremendously in highlighting all of the powers in the game, and you keep playing until someone has captured the win, which is not a very long time. The games do come down to about 10 minutes, 15 tops. So that's basically it. Let's go back up top. Let me tell you what I think about Lovecraft Letter and what I think of it in comparison to the original Love Letter as well. All right, so there you have it. Let's start our little chat here with thematic ties, and I think the theme in this is fantastic. I really like Cthulhu mythos anyway. I like all that stuff. And in this one, it's light. It's certainly, you have to sort of read into what the stuff does, and you have to sort of be familiar with the concepts that show up in the game anyway. Otherwise, you won't have any idea what these things are or why they have the powers they have. But if you do have that knowledge, you'll see that the game has a nice theme and utilizes it in an interesting and clever way. The aesthetics here are fantastic. The quality of the components and the look of everything. The box is beautiful. It's got a magnetic clasp on the outside here. Artwork by Vincent Dutrait is stunning. I adore it. Poker chips are great. Included sleeves, great. This gets superb marks for the aesthetics and the quality of the production, and the way everything is made. I adore that. It blows, for me, it blows Love Letter and any of the other Love Letter editions away. Replayability here and the scalability, I think, is good. And it all depends on what you sort of thought of those micro games anyway in the first place. You know, if you found it to be uninteresting, if you thought 16 cards, which is what was in the original Love Letter, if you thought that simply wasn't enough for a good game, with some replayability, then I don't know if you're going to like the replayability here. But I find this to be at least as replayable, if not more so, than the original Love Letter, and that's saying something because that game is very popular and I do enjoy it quite a bit. The game length here, very tight, sometimes too short actually, but you can always just set up and play again, so I'm glad. I would rather take that than a game that outstays its welcome. And I did find sometimes in the original Love Letter that you could have that problem, especially with more players, because you had to get to a certain number of tokens and the elimination of players was not as common, whereas in this one, with all the madness effects, people will drop like flies. So I like that change. I'm okay with that. For a quick light game like this that's just meant to pass a few minutes, I'm okay with people dropping out left and right, and so that's all right. The ease of play, which involves things like fiddliness, if there's any weird design choices, anything like that, I think it's very, very high. I like the ease of play here. I like that the poker chips are in there. They make scoring a little bit simpler, or keeping track of who's winning, rather. Everything here has been thought through very in a very obvious way. And so I'm very happy to say that the game is easy to play. Cards are large format. Those are very nice to handle and display. It's easy to look around the table and see what's going on. All of that is wonderful. And then lastly, tactics and strategy, and of course the luck in the game. I'll tell you, the first time I played this, I thought that the going insane, checking for sanity thing was problematic, because it happened to me a few times in a row. And this was a demo a long time ago, okay? And so I wasn't sure I was on board with this idea of flip a card and, hey, you're out of the round. But the more I've played with 4 players, especially like it at 4 players, I think the risking it for a juicy power, and sometimes you have to because both the cards you're holding in your hand are madness cards. But the risk versus reward aspect is on point, and it feels right. It's 1/3 of the deck that has madness cards. You did remove a card at the beginning randomly. It could be a madness card, shifting that slightly, one way or the other, obviously. But it feels good to want to play it safe, or sometimes you want to go for the madness win, and those powers are so tantalizing. You know, Cthulhu's power wins you the game outright. If you are trailing, go for the insanity and hope you get lucky and can pull that off, you know. So I like that. The luck is certainly there, and the game is a quick little card game, but the tactics and the luck work hand in hand in a very clever way. All of that to say that I think the game is really fun. I very much enjoy Love Letter, but it's gotten a little stale for me from having played it so much. It's a game that is very popular and does see table time quite a bit, but Lovecraft Letter for me replaces Love Letter. I can now say goodbye to that edition and treasure this one because it is so superbly made. It is so gorgeous on the shelf. It's shaped and designed to look like a book. And I just enjoy the gameplay here a little more. Theme is right up my alley. Artwork, everything for me in this version is a step above the original Love Letter and any of the other ones I've played along the way. So I would certainly recommend you check this one out unless you simply abhor short filler style games. This is one I think you're going to get a kick out of. That is Lovecraft Letter. This one gets a seal of excellence from me. Definitely look into it, especially if you are someone that, like me, really appreciates the look and aesthetics and care that went into producing something as well as designing it. Lovecraft Letter.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.